What's going on, everybody? Shonen Express here, coming to you with another weekly Shonen Jump newsletter. This is kind of an unusual week, but we did get a new series this week. It's our second week of new series out of 3, so I'm super excited to get into it and to talk about that, so let's just get into it. So the cover this week went to Protect Me, Shugomaru. This is the new series that we got this week, and it's a comedy manga about a 10-year-old boy protecting the heiress to a big conglomerate business empire, right? So I like the premise. First of all, the cover of the magazine was really good. I like how colorful it is. I like the colors of Shugomaru specifically. I like that purple neck scarf thing along with his yellow tinted slightly green hair. I think he's got a good look, and I really like that. I like how chibi he is almost. It's kind of cool. But getting into the manga itself, I think it's funny. I love the double color page spread there, where he just takes a grenade to take out a bee and blows up half the house. I really like that. I like the designs of the characters and this manga. I think it's a great comedy manga design, comedy manga art style, I think, and I think it's really going to serve this well. I tried to look up the mangaka for this, and I couldn't find anything else that they had done in the past other than a One Piece spoof. I think I found that they did, but that's all I could find from them. If you guys know this author, leave it down in the comments. I'd love to know what else they've done. But I really like this. So as far as I can tell, this is their first outing, and I love the character designs. I love the art style. I think it's really good. I like Shugomaru so much. I like how overreacting he is to absolutely everything, and how much of a 10-year-old kid he is. He really is a child, and I think that shows in these actions, and I really like him. I love the little dragon tool, the dragon hand tool that he gives to Tsunami to protect her from the crowd. I love that, I just like its design. I think it's really funny when she actually uses it. And Tsunami, I actually like her a lot too. I think it's a fun comedy manga goal for her to find a normal boyfriend, not in the circles of the rich and elite class that she's normally used to dealing with. She's trying to go and deal with this class that is lower. She wants to find a normal guy. I think that's funny. I think it's good. I like the goal, and I love how Shugomaru will stand directly in contrast to this goal happening for sure. I think that's really the super funny part about this. I love the stuff about him. I love when he turns the guy into ice. I thought that was really funny. I love the stuff where she's like, "Hey, keep the nature of our relationship on the down low," and Shugomaru says that to the class, and the whole class is like, "So he's her boyfriend, right?" And then he just doubles down. It's so funny because he doesn't get it, because he doesn't understand. That's why it's really funny. I really like that part a lot. And then the celery. Guys, she's like, "Eat the celery to make sure it's not poison," and the face he makes to be like, "I really don't want to eat that celery," and he's like, "No, it's not poisoned," and gives it back. That was hilarious. I loved seeing that. It was so good. But what I really like even more is the twist, right? I love that villain, what was his name? I can't even remember his name now, or his code name rather, but he wasn't the skull guy that they thought was coming after them. But I love that villain twist because it shows that Shugomaru is correct. There is always danger, and we even saw he tried to sneak up on her a couple times before. She is in danger. Shugomaru is necessary to be here to protect her, and I really liked that he was correct. And then holy cow, he beat the tar out of that guy. I like they almost the art style almost aged him up a minute when he was throwing those punches. Shugomaru is definitely strong, and I think that's really cool and can lean itself to some even cool scenes in this manga possibly. So I like that a lot. And I really like the backstory. I thought the backstory with Shugomaru and Tsunami, where, you know, he vows to kind of protect her, and she finally remembers that and remembers meeting him in the past. I thought that was good, and I thought that's a good foundation to their relationship going forward in what is definitely a comedy manga. It will definitely be in that category. My opinion is probably for its whole run, because it's super funny, and it should be a comedy manga because it's hilarious. So I really liked this chapter. I thought it was a great chapter 1. I thought it was a great start to a series that I hope to be very successful in the magazine. I hope that it can come up alongside some of these other comedy manga that I really love, and do very well. I hope it will. But moving on, we got 3 color pages in the magazine once again. So those 3 color pages we obviously will go over. And the first one went to Ayashimon. Usually a chapter 2 gets a color page, like a single one after their chapter 1, and Ayashimon was no exception. The color page itself I really liked, and here's why. It doesn't look especially appealing or incredible, but what I like about it is the subtlety of this narrative. You see both Maru, right? Yeah, Maru, our main character, and Urara, the other main character. Honestly, after this chapter, I'm not really sure who's the main character, but we see them there, and we see a koi fish and a dragon in the background. And so, for those of you who don't know, there is a legend, kind of a myth, a story of a koi fish who swims up a waterfall. And when the koi fish reaches the top, the koi fish is granted the ability to turn into a dragon. They can become a dragon. This is actually, if you guys read One Piece, this came up a lot with Kaido's devil fruit power. Is this somehow related to this myth? And I think we found out that it is. But I like this because what it's saying, right? Because the dragon is on Urara's side, it's saying that she is the dragon. And after this chapter, not questioning that at all, but it's saying that Maru is the koi fish. He's the fish that's swimming up the waterfall, which makes a ton of sense. He is a human who has superhuman abilities to swim against the grain here, to become the dragon at the top. I really like the symbolism. I thought it was so subtle and really good to have that in this color page. It was really impressive. But getting into the chapter itself, I love that the whole gang is just the 2 of them. I love that Urara doesn't have anyone else. It's just him. If I am saying Maru's name wrong, let me know in the comments, because I genuinely don't know how to pronounce it. I don't think I've ever come across a name like that before, but I love that it's just the 2 of them. I think that's really cool, and I think it's a great start to a shonen manga that hopefully will go on for several years, I hope. I love the puns on the Hashihime thing, like the chopstick princess, and they get there, it's this giant monster. I think she, in both monster form and her regular form, is a very cool character, and I think I noticed something about the masks. They seem to be putting on the Ayashimon that we've seen so far, right? They seem to be putting on masks to attain this giant monstrous form when they need to, and taking them off to turn into the more human-like forms that they have. And so I do wonder about the power system in this world. Obviously, I think as the time goes, as we get more chapters of this manga, we're going to find more and more out about that. So, I'm content to wait on that for a minute, but I like that. What I really liked about this chapter is how scary it made Urara. First of all, she's an Oni, which makes sense if they're part of the Enma clan, right? Enma being the demon king that guards the entrance to heaven or hell, right? Another, Japanese yokai myth. I'm really into them. I really like them a lot. But her being an Oni is really interesting because Onis are not typically, in shonen manga at least, depicted as, like, the final boss. They're usually grunts, right? They're big, demon monster things that guard usually the entrances to things. But I love that we're using an Oni as the chief, most powerful Ayashimon here, and Urara is scary. scary. I love her revenge story. She is clearly in charge, and that's why I say, between her and Maruo, I don't know who the main character is here. It seems like they both are the main character, which I'm fine with, which I like. And so yeah, that was definitely interesting itself. I love Maruo. I love how stupid he is. I love how much he just wants to be a superhero. It's so cool. And he's like, I have to be smarter. And so he does the punch and he just says super smart attack. That was hilarious. I loved that. I loved even more that it works. Maruo is just so incredibly superhumanly strong that this works, that him yelling super smart punch and just putting his all into it actually became effective. I think that's hilarious. But going on, we did get introduced this chapter to the wider world of Ayashimon, the wider world of this gang warfare in Shibuya where they are. And so we've learned of the 4 groups, right? There's the group that usurped the Kyo guy's position once he died, that took over the old Enma gang. There's this biker gang that's there. There's the host club that's there, and this hotel conglomerate that is moving in. I like the politics of this situation. Obviously, I love the gag where Maruo's head explodes because he can't handle the information, but I like the politics of this situation. I think that they're interesting, and I can't wait to explore them more as the series goes forward. Now, as a whole, this was a good chapter too. I see some holes, some plot points that I begin to worry about, but they're not big enough that I'm throwing any flags. I hope that this series goes on for a long time, and this becomes one of the successful flagship series in Weekly Shonen Jump. Obviously, this mangaka being the author of Hell's Paradise, which several of you guys said I should read, so I'm going to check that out probably here really soon. Being the author of Hell's Paradise, obviously this author is already successful, and I hope that this is another success because I really like it. But yeah, that's all I had to say about Ayashimon. So we will move on to color page number 2, which this week went to Mashle, Magic, and Muscles. I'm glad I get to talk about this because I thought this chapter was hilarious. The color page itself was fine. It was good. I got no complaints. I just don't have any specific thoughts about it. But moving on from that, I don't have a whole ton to say, but I do have some funny points, right? This is a very funny chapter. I love that Lance leaves Dot by himself in Dot's face when he realizes that he's all alone, that he's got to hold the fort down totally by himself. That was hilarious. I really thought that was super funny. And I love the weirdo off that Lance and the villain guy here, and I forget his name, I apologize, but are having, right? He's such a mama's. I love he picks up the phone and he's calling his mom, talking to his mom, and how Lance is like, what a weirdo. And then Lance muttering to the picture of his sister, and this other guy's like, this guy's so weird. And then it's just really funny. They're like weirdo off is so funny. I really liked it. Mashle is always best when the humor is turned up as far as it can go. And what I really like about this chapter is, obviously there's the whack-a-mole game, which is funny too, but what I really like about this chapter is it does what Mashle is really good at, combining these really funny moments, these gag chapters, with seriousness, with really actually emotional moments, such as Lance remembering his almost duty to Mash, to be rivals to Mash and to keep up and only lose against him. This gave me very much Neji fighting Kidomaru vibes from Naruto. I don't know if you guys have read that series. If you haven't read Naruto, please go read Naruto. It's one of my favorites. But it gave me those kind of vibes, like I can't lose because I need to stay rivals with this guy. So I liked that a lot. I thought it was really good. I thought Lance's answer to the problem was really good this chapter too. So it was just a good Mashle chapter. I just really, really enjoyed it this week. But that will bring us on to color page number 3, which this week went to Blue Box. And I couldn't be more excited because you guys know how much I love Blue Box, how much I love talking about this series, right? So, the color page itself, it was relevant. It was very relevant. Obviously, Chinatsu and Chono are they are the two women in this love triangle that we're starting to form. So I thought it was relevant. I thought it was good. They both look great. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the color page itself, but it was good. But getting into the chapter itself, I love the awkwardness, right? In the morning, in that bathroom routine, I love how awkward it is and how Taiki is trying to convince himself that this is how it is. He needs to treat it as if nothing has changed, as if everything is normal, and just move on. And I really like that. I think it's a good thought for Taiki to have. I think it's helpful for him. So I like that he is that he's able to do that. I think that shows maturity, and I really like that. I also I love how into love Taiki is, right? So he's finally come out. So Chinatsu has put a definite stopping block in his ambition to go out with her, to have relations with her, right? So she's definitely put a stop to that. And so Taiki has a moment to step back and to look at the world, look at those around him, and realize how much he's missed. And I love the moment where that guy tries to come in on Chono, like talk to Chono, and Taiki doesn't feel any kind of jealousy there, which is good, by the way. I think that's really, really good. I would have been very concerned if Taiki was jealous in that moment, but he's not. He's genuinely interested. He's like, whoa, all these people are falling in love, when I wasn't paying attention. He's realizing the world around him. And why I think it's good is because Taiki doesn't have any feelings specifically for Chono, at least right now. And I think that that's going to be a very, very important plot point as we move forward in this coming arc for sure. So we also, what I love about this chapter is then we get to see a little bit of Chono and Taiki's first meeting, right? I love how she's so obsessed with the candy apples and she slaps him in the face, and their first meeting is hers literally slapping him in the face. It's such a good intro to being good friends. And if you've ever had a friend like this, a friend of the opposite sex who is just a good friend, right? Then you've probably had moments like this, right? Now, where I think that the relationship for Chono probably escalated, right, is when he gets her the candy apple, which is such a sweet thing to do. Taiki is just a nice guy. He gets her this candy apple because he sees, oh, I saw it was the last one, and I didn't want them to run out because I knew how much you wanted one. Obviously, he got slapped in the face earlier that day, because of a candy apple, so obviously this would stick with him. But it was very sweet. It was a very sweet gesture. And then we get to the end of this chapter where we get the question of, do you want to go to that festival with me, right? And I think that this will probably next chapter be played off in some kind of way, like, oh yeah, we'll go, we'll bring other friends and everything. I don't think that Taiki recognizes this as what Chono is recognizing this as, which is her shooting her shot. So I really liked that. I liked the end of this chapter. I hope that we get a slow burn and that this romance does turn into something, because I think that makes the whole story more interesting. If this Taiki and Chono romance continues down this line, I think that would be interesting. But for now, this is where we are, but it was a great chapter. I love it. Always love Blue Box. If you haven't read Blue Box, if you're not reading Blue Box, read it, for crying out loud. It's so good. I love it so much. Especially if you like romance manga. I don't. I am not a romance manga guy, but I'm in it. So, maybe I am. Maybe I am secretly a romance manga guy. But yeah, so that was all of the color pages this week, which brings us into our middle segment here, where we talk about, new, ending, and break. New in the magazine, Protect Me Shugomaru, but we already talked about that, so you know about that. There wasn't anything that ended in the magazine this week, so nothing ended. But there was one that was on break this week. The Elusive Samurai was on break this week. I think it was a schedule. I think it was a planned break, so I wouldn't worry about it not, going anywhere. Obviously, I love that mangaka. I'm really into their work with Assassination Classroom and everything. I think they're fine. But this is just a planned break, so they will be back. Elusive Samurai will be back next week. But that brings to my highlights. I have 3 of them. If you guys are catching on, I do 7 manga a week, so that's why the highlights keep changing. But this week I have 3 to round us out here. And the first one is Dr. Stone. I felt like I had to highlight Dr. Stone this week because of how good it was. First of all, I love this is the chapter where we officially are picking the 3, right? The pilot, the scientist, and the warrior are going to space, and we gotta pick these 3. So I love that. I love that we're getting into that here. I really love that the immediate obvious choice is Ryusui to be the pilot. This is the immediate obvious choice. He's the only choice, I think, as the pilot character. I think maybe that Yu, the police guy, his name is Yu, I think, but if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But I think he could have been a choice, but I think Ryusui is the obvious choice for this. And Senku is the obvious scientist choice, because Zeno obviously has to stay on the Earth. And Senku, honestly, is the main character of this series. He needs to be the one to go to the space from a narrative perspective. But the problem with him is he doesn't have enough stamina, right? And this is funny because this is a thing, if you remember, all the way back to the very beginning of the series, when we were just dealing with Senku and Taiju, right? Taiju? Was that his name? Oh my word. This is like one of the main characters of this series. You guys know what I'm talking about. The first two characters, right? That was their big difference, right? Taiji? Man, this is going to kill me. Let me know in the comment section what his name is. But he was the best friend there. He was strong and dumb. Senku was weak and smart. And that's why they made such a good team. And now Senku's got to build up some of that stamina, so he's training. I love to see the training there. But really the main thrust of this chapter, and why I felt like I had to highlight it this week, was the stuff between Tsukasa and Kohaku. I love the little fight that they have, right? I love that Tsukasa attacks Kohaku and Kohaku is defending herself, and they have a very, very brief fight, and Kohaku's like, I refuse to believe that you would betray us at this stage, which she's totally right. And I just love Tsukasa has a quote here that is such a character defining quote for him. He's talking to Kohaku about how they're not that much different in strength. The gap has closed. He is stronger for sure, but that gap has closed considerably. And as he's talking about this, he says the quote, "Science is the great equalizer." I really like this quote, and I like it coming from Tsukasa specifically. This is the guy who started, at the beginning, was our main antagonist because he hated the idea that science was the great equalizer. He hated the idea that science would cause an unequal nature, right? Certain people with the money and the power would be over others, but not realizing that would happen with strength in a stone world anyway. But because he was the strongest, he couldn't see past that, and now has come to the realization that it's actually science that brings everyone to the same level. With the right scientific tools, everyone is at the same level. I love this realization. It's really cool, and I think it speaks to what the heart of Dr. Stone as a series is. So I really, really like it. It's a very good scene. But yeah, that brings us to our 3, which means that Kohaku is going to the moon. And this is, while I did want Tsukasa to go to the moon, I thought he was the clear, choice at first. I love this decision. Kohaku has been one of the main characters of this series from the get-go, from the jump. And so I really love that she gets to go on this mission with Senku and with Ryusui. I love that they're the 3 astronauts, and I'm super looking forward to the future of this series as we move forward. But that will bring us to highlight number 2, which this week was Sakamoto Days. I couldn't hold myself back from highlighting this manga anymore, guys. It was so good. I really like Apart. I think Apart has a very similar story, not to harp on Naruto all day today, but a very similar story to Gaara. I think that their experiences are closely related. But let's just get into the chapter. I love the little joke about Sakamoto not wanting to listen to his backstory at the very beginning. I thought that was super funny. That he's just like, I don't really have time for that. That was really that was really funny. I really like the dad. I like how, what I'm confused about, right, is the relationship between Apart's dad and mom. But the dad seems to try and genuinely encourage Apart and have him build relationships and build friendships and grow in self-confidence, which I think as a parent myself and as any other parent, this is what you want for your children. You want to build them up and have them become people who can relate with the world in a positive way, right? Which makes it all the more, heartbreaking when the dad sees the doll that he gave to help apart practice social situations, right? Because some kids have a harder time with that, right? So it's a good practice tool when he sees that all torn apart, and then when he sees the animal that apart dismembered. This is a real thing, guys. This is another one. Like last week, I talked a lot about real tragedy that Weekly Shonen Jump was beginning to show. And so this is another example of that. There are really people out here who do this, and needless killing of animals and dismembering them is one of the red flags for a child to have a mental disorder that might make them predisposed to violence. And so the dad does the responsible thing, right? He takes apart to the doctor and has him get what looks like a CT scan or maybe an MRI on his brain, right? To see, okay, what is there a wrong functioning of the brain? How do we combat this? And the doctor says the brain looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And this upsets the dad so much. And he's like, are you saying my son's a monster? And I want to pause here for a minute. Because this is, while it is incredibly emotional, right, for a part, obviously, this highlights another thing. So, I think that Apart's dad is well-meaning, at least from what we see in this chapter, right? I think he genuinely wants the best for his son, and he's trying to help his son, right? And I think that's where this anger and frustration comes, because he can't believe that his son is a monster. But I would like to just return to the fact that Apart himself said that no one in his life liked him, other than his dad. That his own mother continuously had multiple problems dealing with him in a way that was productive. And so she would just ignore him at multiple times. And this is presumably this guy's wife, right? So there were red flags all over this situation. And despite the effort that the little bit of effort that his dad did put in, we did see at the beginning that he wasn't around as much. So things like this happen. Children are precious, right? And we need to train them up in the way that we would like them to interact in society, and that is extremely important. And I think that the dad's anger here is trying to put a little bit of that burden that he has as the father of Apart onto this doctor. He's trying to get rid of it, saying, I couldn't have created a monster, when in reality, the circumstances that you allowed to continue to happen around your son did create this monster. And he dies in the end. Apart kills him. And derives some kind of sick pleasure from this in saying that, looking at his brain scans and looking at what I assume has to be his father's brain and saying, look, we're the same. This is terribly sad, as well as terribly sick. But it makes Apart a very interesting villain, in my opinion. So I liked that part of it, we will say. But Apart was very interesting. And Apart is just super cool. He's super strong. Tore up the Eiffel Tower like nobody's business. So I'm very interested to see next week where this goes, how their fight progresses, and how Sakamoto interacts with Apart in a way that is productive. I think that will be an interesting thing to see moving forward. But that will bring us to our third and final highlight today, guys, which is Magu-chan God of Destruction. First of all, I love the 10 Holy Knights guard or whatever they call themselves, right? I like their designs. I think they're really funny. I think that they go well with the Holy Knights that we've seen so far, obviously being Azuma and Sierra, the brother and sister. I think they go really well with them. Their designs fit that kind of way. I almost wonder if the Wind one isn't related to them in some way, because they look really similar. But I really like these guys. I love the comment that Ren makes, where he's like, why are so many of you fire related? There's too many fire ones. That was really funny. They kind of play on the trope of like a group having one elemental for each element. Like, I thought that was funny. I like that 3 of them are fire related at least. And then I love that there's only 5 of them. That Ren's like, wait a minute, there's only 5 of you. And they're like, yeah, times are tough. And it's like, wow, that's got to be so sad. They're the 10 great generals, and there's only 5 of them because there's not enough people. That's really funny. I think it's hilarious, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this chapter, is because how much this group made me laugh this week. I really liked it. And so, but on a much more serious note, we did get a lot of serious things happen in this chapter. First of all, Izuma has been called back to the Holy Knighthood. He's been taken off of this mission, which is upsetting because Izuma is a main character, and we're told that Yunaris has something to do with this. I have thought for a long time that Yunaris will end up being a villain, and I should have said this earlier, I realized, but I might be wrong. But I think that because she's involved with the Holy Knighthood, I think that she might be one of the main villains of this series, if not the last villain that this series has. And her calling Izuma back seems to preempt that. I think Izuma will resist this, especially after what happened at the end, but it was definitely interesting to see. But then at the end, they've taken Ruru. Sierra, specifically with the help of Ninitsi, has taken Ruru and abducted her. This is the way to go, and only Yunaris would know to do this because she's the one that has spent the most time around this group and knows that the core linchpin to this group is Ruru. You gotta get Ruru out of this group if you want anything to happen. So I'm very excited to see what is in that letter to Izuma from Yunaris. I want to know what's going on and what the plan is here. This could be heating up. This manga could be getting really cool here in a minute. So, as a comedy manga, what I think is mostly a comedy manga, this was a really good chapter. It had very funny moments in the beginning, and obviously the end was so serious and so suspenseful. I can't wait to see what happens in the future. But yeah, that'll be the end of my highlight section, which will move us into the mentions. So, this week, I have 5 mentions. Jujutsu Kaisen was great. Higuruma is an amazing character. Definitely read JJK. It was really good. Undead Unluck, also really good. I love the wrapping up of the Fuko and Spring competition and how emotional that got at the end was really good this week. Black Clover. Oh my gosh, the combination attacks are incredible. I love this fight. I love that it appears like they're going to take him down really quick. That was awesome. Me and Roboco, I thought was really funny. I love the cuteness off. That was really funny. And I just like me and Roboco, so I wanted to mention it. And lastly, Mission Yozakura Family was very intense, very cool. I love the second head. I think she's very interesting, and I just like Mission Yozakura Family. Anytime it's in a serious arc, I like Mission Yozakura Family. So yeah, that's all my mentions this week, guys. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you liked anything I had to say, please, like this video, comment down below. I'd love to talk with you. Subscribe to the channel. I bring you these weekly newsletters every single week, so definitely subscribe to the channel. I do have a tiny announcement. For those of you who have stuck around all the way to the end here, we are no longer putting the PillowFort Podcast up on this YouTube channel. It seems like not many of you guys watch them anyway, so probably this isn't a big deal. But they will. The PillowFort Podcast, which is me and my friends, in this case me and Kate, my sister, going through different anime and manga. This week we just put out the Reverse Mountain arc of One Piece. It's like a 7-chapter arc or whatever. So we just put that out this Sunday. So definitely go check that out on whatever you listen to podcasts on. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It is the PillowFort Podcast. So yeah, go check that out. I'd love for you guys to listen to it there, but they won't be on this channel anymore. But hey, thanks guys so much for listening. And until next time, this is Shonen Express signing off.